メジャー翻訳速報。今シーズン MLB 界では日本人選手の活躍が目覚ましく、ドジャースには佐々木朗希選手が加入し、その実力は現地でも高く評価されています。佐々木選手のスプリッターはメジャー屈指の決め球として期待を集め、今後の活躍が注目されています。このチャンネルでは日本人メジャーリーガーに関する現地放送局の様子を翻訳してお届けいたします。お見逃しのないよう今のうちにチャンネル登録をお願いします。
Let's move on to this topic. Which organizations are celebrating this top 100 list? It's a big deal to have the most prospects on the top 100 countdown. The Cubs and the M's lead the way with 7, the Tigers with 6, along with the Chicago White Sox. And man, Jim, thankfully the Dodgers have 6 as well, because they're having a hard time getting big league talent to Chavez Ravine. So it's good to see they've got a farm system. My goodness, are the rich getting richer, Jim?
No, they are. I mean, they weren't quite number one on that list, but I think in terms of what organization does the best job winning at the big league level while continuing to develop talent, it's clearly the Dodgers. And you look at this list, it shows they get players from all different sources. They don't usually have first-round picks or high first-round picks. Roki Sasaki, obviously, that was international recruiting efforts there. Dalton Rushing was a second-round pick. Josue DePaulo was not a big-time international signing. He was mid-level money. Jackson Ferris and Zaire Hope came over in a prospect trade. Yes, the Dodgers do trade for prospects. Alex Freeland was a third-rounder. So not only do they excel at finding players in all kind of aspects of player acquisition, I think from a development standpoint, they do as good a job as anybody developing hitters, developing pitchers, just making players be as good as they can be. They do that, I think, better than anyone. So that's why I think a year from now, they may be number one on this list, because they have a bunch of young guys like Kellen Lindsay and Emil Morales and Eduardo Quintero, who all could be on this list next year, who are all teenage players who are on the rise. We may have in the top 100 show next year, too. It's just they do a lot of amazing work, aside from spending like crazy at the big league level.
I thought Jim was going to just tack off all 30 of the Dodgers top 30 off the top of his head, which would surprise none of us. I'm going to talk about the team that had actually more top 100 prospects than the Dodgers, the Seattle Mariners, which maybe they sort of qualify as a sneaky good because people don't realize it, but the thing that really stands out is its 7 bats. Not long ago, this system was known for the Logan Gilberts of the world. It was all about the arms. They're in the big leagues now. They went 3 high school bats in a row in the draft with Cole Young, Harry Ford, and Colt Emerson, who's now at the top of that list. And they've done a very good job of developing these guys. They're starting to reach the upper levels. Young and Ford are. They acquired talent in a number of ways, also via the draft. You see Lazaro Montes and Felman Celestin, big international signings. They're not afraid to aggressively promote them to full season ball, so they're kind of on a faster track. And sort of inside baseball here, when we put our list together, we send it out for feedback. And Michael Arroyo and Johnny Firmello, and Firmello isn't going to be back till midseason because of a torn ACL, got a ton of feedback from evaluators of other teams that they should be on the top 100, and that's why they see them on the list.
And then for me, with the Cubs, one of the other organizations there with 7 top 100 prospects, what stands out to me most about that group is how close they are to the bigs. You guys talked on the main show about Matt Shaw and how he could be a National League Rookie of the Year candidate this year because there is an opportunity for him there at third base. But Cade Horton, Owen Casey, Moises Ballesteros, James Triantos, Kevin Alcantara, all of those guys have AAA experience already. And if you look at the good major league clubs like the Dodgers, like the Orioles the last few years, they are good because of their depth. They have another level waiting at the AAA level. Is there a great need for outfielders right now with the Cubs after the acquisition of Kyle Tucker? No, but if they could bring in an Owen Casey, Kevin Alcantara got time at the major league level a little bit last year, they have enough options to plug and play there, and then they have Jefferson Rojas who's rising through the ranks. This is the type of farm system you need if you want to be competitive year in and year out.
The number 1 prospect in all of baseball, and it's hard for me to say he's a prospect. I got to be honest with you. Roki Sasaki, after covering the World Baseball Classic, seeing him throw in person, this Japanese superstar is debuting on this list at number 1. He just recently signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's got a splitter. He's got so many incredible pitches. His fastball is over 100 miles an hour, reaching 102. Jonathan, at some point, obviously, he's the sure bet on this list, on this show. But do you view him as a prospect after everything he's done in a Japanese professional league that it just keeps churning out stars?
Well, obviously we do. Otherwise, he wouldn't be number one on our list. But, we follow the rules that baseball has set for the international bonus pool system, and he counts towards that, so he counts as a prospect, just like we counted Shohei Ohtani when he came and signed with the Angels. And he's number one for a reason, and baseball largely thought he was the number one prospect for a reason, because the stuff is just ridiculous. You mentioned the fastball. Even though the velocity was a little bit down in 2024, he's still averaged in the upper 90s. But the thing that's the real separator for me is that splitter. If you watch video of that splitter, I don't know how anyone ever hits or lays off of that pitch. It is an 80 on the scouting scale. We don't give those out lightly. And those two pitches alone are enough to have him really high on the list. Throw in the fact that he flashes a plus slider and he commands all three pitches well. And that's why he's clearly the best pitching prospect and the number one guy on our board.
And following up on Jonathan, what kind of blows me away, though he's pitched 394 innings in Japan, I still look at him as the development project.
Really?
Well, you look at it, his highest number of innings has been 129. He physically looks like he hasn't come close to hitting his maturity level. And though he's got two dominant pitches, he can scatter his fastball a little bit, and he's still a work in progress with his other pitches. And so he couldn't have gone to a better organization because they're so deep. They know how to transition Japanese pitchers now to American baseball. And Jim, like, you look at him and you go, oh my gosh, even though he's great now, I can't imagine what he's going to look like with a couple more years of physical growth.
I had that exact conversation with the Dodgers talking about Roki Sasaki. I agree with all that. I think that splitter might be the best pitch in the world. I think his athleticism and the mobility in his delivery is off the charts. But like you said, it's interesting. I think he's going to be good this year right away, and I think he's going to continue to get better. He could command the fastball better. He can refine the slider more. And, I think he's a future Cy Young Award winner. But, yeah, he went to an organization that gets the most out of players. Jonathan mentioned his executive poll. The Dodgers are, number one or top three in just about everything in terms of acquiring talent, making guys better. They do a great job developing pitchers. And I can't wait to see what they do with Sasaki.
You have as much respect for the history of baseball as any player I've ever known or heard about. You've been to Cooperstown 7 or 8 times already just because you're interested in the history of the game.
もちろんそうですね。
Of course, I wanted to learn about the history, and that's one of the reasons. But really, as I played and as I hit milestones, broke records that some of the old Hall of Famers had accomplished, I felt a really close relationship with them. And so in order to get to know more about them and get to have a more closer relationship, I thought I needed to go to the Hall of Fame, Cooperstown, and be able to learn about them, be able to go in the basement and maybe get to touch some of their equipment. And that's kind of how I became closer to some of those players that I was able to tie or pass some of the records.
シスラー、ジョージ・シスラー
Yes.
という選手と、ウィリー・キーラーという選手ですね。
That's one of the things I've admired most about you. Sisler's daughter was at the game when you tied or passed him. And then when the All-Star game was in St. Louis in 2009, you visited his gravesite and said that you wanted to honor this grand upperclassman of the game. What a wonderful thing.
そうですね。やっぱそういう気持ち。
Sister's daughter came to Seattle and to watch, and I was so grateful for that. And really, the Cooperstown was Hall of Fame is there, so that I learned about these guys, and so it meant a lot to me to go to the gravesite, because that's where I was able to learn about them through Cooperstown, and so that's why Cooperstown is great for everyone, but especially for me, who I was able to get close to some of those that I was able to learn about.
What does it mean to you, given your respect for the history of the game, that you are the first Japanese player in the American Baseball Hall of Fame?
で嬉しかったのは、
It wasn't a goal of mine to be in the Hall of Fame. I started my professional career at 18. It's just a little, every day working on the little things and working hard every single day and just getting better every single day. And I didn't know I was going to be go to America to play baseball for the big leagues. And that became possible because of just the everyday, over and over and over practices and everything that I've done to get to that point. And as I went throughout my career, there was an opportunity that, hey, maybe I could go play in the big leagues. And that's when I had an opportunity in 2000 at the end to be able to go to the big leagues in America. And so that's kind of the steps that I had to take to get to the goals that I've had. In 2001, my career started here, and I didn't know that I could last a year. And people around me didn't know that I could last a year. But, you know, our team did well. We won 116 games. I was able to contribute, and I was able to just take those little steps every single day. And, you know, 2-3 years, I was able to do well. And then fourth year, get 262 hits, and just took little steps along the way. And look at me now, I'm a Hall of Famer. You know, you look at the Hall of Fame, I don't think it's full of guys that are just so talented than everybody else. Look at me, you know, I think I just took little steps and worked hard to get to the next step, and here I am.
People may not realize that your English is actually very good, but you like to speak in these situations in Japanese to be as precise as you can. But in Cooperstown in July, will you speak a little bit of English in your acceptance speech?
I will make my speech in English. You know, when we have these interviews, you know, I'm shaky in my own language, Japanese. You know, I can't speak it. You know, and that's how I've looked at it. You know, obviously, I've wanted to learn English. I tried, and it's really hard. You know, if you would have told me, hey, you could put a chip in my head, and I would lose 5 years of my life. You know, back then I would have done it. But now I'm kind of at peace with that, and that I will. You know, of course, I want to learn English. I want to do better. But yes, I will do my speech in English in July.
メジャー翻訳速報。イチロー選手の殿堂入りのニュース、感慨深いものがありました。一歩一歩着実に積み重ねてこられた姿勢、そして野球の歴史や先人たちへの深い敬意、クーパーズタウンへの度重なる訪問からもその真摯な姿勢が伝わってきます。そして佐々木朗希選手のドジャース入り、世界最高峰のスプリッターを武器にさらなる成長が期待されます。ダルビッシュ有選手も言及していた通り、選手育成に定評のあるドジャースでの挑戦、これからの活躍が本当に楽しみですね。次回の動画でまたお会いしましょう。ご視聴ありがとうございました。